Hello everyone, how's it going? Rick Rackett back with you again, and today I'm continuing my playthrough of the Metal Gear Solid trilogy, this time doing the first Metal Gear Solid, and I'm doing things a little bit differently. For one, I'm not doing the Master Collection version of the game, I'm running the PC GOG port, the original PC port that's available on GOG. I decided to go with this version because it's a lot more moddable in terms of the appearance of the game. You can run it at much higher resolutions and run it in widescreen. Now you can also do these things with emulation via DuckStation, but with this I don't have to go through a bunch of menus when it comes to like setting everything up and tweaking things, and then you also have the controller swapping. You don't have to do that in this version. When you fight Psycho Mantis, you use the keyboard. And you can use a combination of the keyboard and a controller. So the way that I do it when we get to that point is I use the keyboard to fire the gun, and I use the controller for movement. So I have my controller in my left hand and the keyboard in my right. Well, I don't have it in my hand, but I'm using my right hand for the keyboard. The other difference between this and my other videos, my other playthroughs, is I'm not doing the gameplay and the commentary at the same time. And I'm doing this because I want to be able to focus on the commentary while I'm doing the commentary, and it also led to me having a much better and more seamless gameplay experience, I guess you would say. I still made a few mistakes, but I chalked that up to not having played the game in such a long time. But it still went a lot smoother than I thought it would, and frankly probably went better than some of my more recent playthroughs. But yeah, and I might stick to this format going forward because it allows me to record the gameplay basically anytime I want to. When it comes to recording videos, for me, I'm stuck to a very limited schedule. I have to do it on my nights off, which I have usually two, and I have to do it at night just because there's less noise going on and it's a much better recording environment. I am actually recording this in the morning. It's a rare morning where it's kind of quiet, so I figure I'd come down here and do it. But again, it might be something I stick to because it kind of works out better for me that way. You know, I'm pretty sure all of you guys trust me. For those of you who are subscribed, you know I'm not going and taking gameplay from someone else. And if I were, I would get much better gameplay. Like I would get someone doing a Foxhound rank or a Big Boss rank of the game, or Big Boss run of the game. And you know, it's obviously me playing it because I get spotted here pretty soon. But yeah, with the preamble sort of out of the way, I'm really gearing this playthrough towards newcomers. I had a friend of mine, shout out to Gym Leader Ryan on Twitter. He said that a mutual friend of ours was playing through the collection and was having kind of a difficult time with it. I forgot to ask which game he was currently playing. I'm assuming it's this one, the first one. But I was going to go ahead and do playthroughs of all the games anyway. But I really want to gear this one specifically towards newcomers that haven't played the game before, because I'm sure there's quite a few. If you bought the Master Collection and it's your first time playing a Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid 1 especially is difficult to get into because the controls are from way back in 1998. For those of you that maybe started playing video games in the last couple of decades, we didn't have what you would call standardized controls back then. It was everyone was kind of doing their own thing, and because of that, going back to these games now, if you didn't grow up with them, can be rather difficult. And it's been difficult for me going back to this game because I've gotten so used to playing modern games, even modern Metal Gear games, starting with like MGS4. They very much adopted a Call of Duty style control scheme where the shoulder buttons one shoulder button aims, the other shoulder button shoots, and you get used to that. And with this one, there's no like first person aiming or anything like that. Actually, well, in this particular version there is. You can actually go into first person mode and walk around, but aside from that, it's very different from anything you'll play today, any modern game. And I guess I should start getting into sort of the tips of all this and getting into like the tutorial bits. The first thing you're going to want to learn to do, and I did bring a controller down here to demonstrate some of these things. The first thing you're going to want to learn with Metal Gear Solid 1 is how to run and shoot at the same time. And there's not really a run button. Snake walks at the same speed, but I call it running and shooting or walking and shooting. And to do that, and this is universal across all versions of the game, the inputs are different, but it's the same position on the controller. So when you're aiming a gun, to aim a gun and to shoot it, you press the leftmost face button. So on the Xbox controller, it would be X. On the PlayStation 4 controller, it would be, or PS5, it would be the square button. And on Nintendo Switch, it would be the Y button. That's your aim and shoot. While you're holding that, you want to simultaneously hold down on the crawl button, which in the case of an Xbox controller is the A button. On the Nintendo Switch, it's the B button, and on PlayStation 5, it is the X button. You hold these two buttons together, and it allows you to have your gun readied and allow you to walk at the same time. And then to shoot, you just, while keeping the crawl button pressed down, you let off of the fire button. So if you're, I'm doing it with my index finger, but if you're doing it with your thumb, of course, you're going to keep the bottom of your thumb pressed against the A button, X button, whatever, and then use your thumb and tap it like that to fire the gun. Learn that. As soon as you pick up a gun, learn that trick, because it will come in handy. I wouldn't say there's really any point where it's required. You could realistically play through the game without it, because I did back in the day. When it comes to some of the VR missions, the optional VR missions that the game has, running and shooting is required in some of them. But even though, again, it isn't required in the story, it does help out a lot. So again, highly recommend learning that. Take your time and figure it out. And yeah, again, very important trick. And this game also has tactical reload like MGS3. And to do it in this game, instead of quickly tapping the right trigger, you just tap the right bumper. And that's, again, universal across all versions of this game. Oh, and if you're playing this on the Master Collection, you'll have two versions of Metal Gear Solid 1 to choose from. You'll have the original, and you'll have what's called integral. Integral, I have a hard time saying that word for some reason. Integral is the director's cut of MGS1. And it's like what Substance was to Metal Gear Solid 2, or what Subsistence was to Metal Gear Solid 3. It has a bunch of additional things, but the most important thing is it has a very easy mode. And if you're playing this for the first time, I would recommend playing that version and playing it on very easy. The game gives you, I think, a silenced submachine gun right from the start, which will help you out a lot. And, don't let people on the internet shame you into playing the game on a harder difficulty, because, if you try and playing it on normal mode or even easy mode, and you're having a difficult time with it, then you're not going to be able to get into the game. And that's no good. I want as many people to experience this game as possible. So, yeah, play it on very easy. Don't feel bad about it. When I played all these games for the first time, when I did Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, I think even up to Metal Gear Solid 4, to be honest, I played them on very easy on my first playthroughs. And then I went on to beat most of them on extreme difficulty. Well, actually, I've beaten them all on extreme difficulty, but I haven't. I got the Foxhound rank in MGS3 and the Big Boss rank in MGS4 and the Twin Snakes. I think there's another one. I can't remember. So, I came from those humble beginnings of very easy mode. So, again, play it the way that you can best experience it and have a good time with it. And if you want to go back for a more challenging run, then you can play it again. Play it on normal, play it on hard, extreme, whatever the case may be. This fight with Ocelot didn't go very smoothly. What you can do is shoot him, and then run in a circle behind him and dodge his shots. I didn't pull that off very well, and I actually have a YouTube short that I need to upload where I did it on the Nintendo Switch, and I was able to pull it off a little bit better, but for some reason this version, I don't know, maybe it's just my imagination, maybe I just wasn't close enough to Ocelot, but the lock-on aim, the auto lock-on aim, wasn't working throughout a lot of that battle. And playing it on Nintendo Switch, and then I think I played it on the Steam Deck too when the Master Collection came out. I didn't have as much of a problem with that, so it's just a problem with this particular port. There are actually a lot of issues with the GOG port of MGS1. Fans are working on some of these things, like the music doesn't play back correctly in the base version of the game. One thing you may notice in this, if you can hear it well enough, is there are certain cutscenes that you can't skip where the dialogue doesn't play back correctly. And these weren't issues in the Master Collection version when I played through it. And again, I played through it on Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck. Another thing, and something that I didn't really do myself in this playthrough, is take your time and explore the rooms and go through all the various storage rooms and everything and pick up ammo. It's very important. One thing that I should have picked up here is the thermal goggles and the mine detector. When you come into this room for the first time, there's a catwalk above, and there's a staircase on the leftmost side of the room that you can go up, and you can go walk all the way around to this. Well, I don't know why I'm trying to point at this, but you can walk all the way around. There's a couple of rooms that you can get access to. One has the thermal goggles, and the other has like a mine detector. Now, you have to do that when you first come into this room, when you come from outside through the air duct. Otherwise, you won't be able to get the thermal goggles until later. But the thermal goggles are very useful. So again, go out of your way to get those, or at the very least get the mine detector, because it will come in handy, especially when you go through this door up ahead. There are claymore mines in this snowfield, and you need to be able to see them. I kind of have a vague, I don't say a vague idea, I have a general idea of where they're at because I've played through it so many times. And if you go this all the way to the side, you only have to crawl over one of them. If you want to pick them up, you can crawl over them. That's how you disarm them. And you want to have a bunch of these for later because they come in handy for a later boss fight. I'm trying to avoid using the names of particular bosses because, again, I don't want to spoil anything. This is, like I said, very much geared towards newcomers. So I want to try to be as vague as I can be about certain things regarding the story. And I won't be watching any cutscenes, as you can already tell in this playthrough. I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And the playthrough will be time-stamped, so if you need to get to a certain bit or want to see how to do a certain fight, you can do that. I didn't really talk too much about the Ocelot fight while I was doing it. It's pretty basic. You just run around and just shoot them. With this one, you're trying to land grenades as close as you can to the machine gunner. And if you manage to land one right in the cockpit, like I did with that first one, you'll take him out in one hit. And there are two guards. So if you get, I don't want to say lucky because I'm sure there is some kind of strategy to it. But if you can land it in the cockpit twice in a row, you can get that fight over pretty quickly. Otherwise, you're going to have to kind of run around him, and you don't want to get too much distance between you and the tank because otherwise he'll shoot his, like, I don't know what they call that, the main gun, the missile launcher, whatever. When you start that fight off, you want to throw a chaff grenade like I did because that disables the main gun and allows you to get in close to throw grenades at him. When you get into this room, you cannot use weapons. What you're seeing me do here is quickly equip and unequip the chaff grenade because that's the only weapon you can actually equip, and that allows you to walk on noisy floors without making any noise. It's only useful in a couple of instances, and this is one of them, but even here it's not super useful because I'm playing the game with the alternate guard layout which is part of Integral, and the guards are in completely different positions than what I'm used to. This was actually my first time playing the game with the alternate guard layout, so if you notice that the guards are in different positions on your version of the game as they are from what they are on mine, that's the reason. It's the same general idea though when it comes to sneaking around. Here I'm grabbing at nothing because if you get too close to a guard when you're trying to get him in a chokehold, you'll end up bumping into him, and then it'll go right into an alert. And you don't want to do that here because when you go into an alert mode in that room, it will trigger a poisonous gas, and that's not ideal. So you're going to stop off in floor B1 after the first floor once you get on that elevator, and you're going to go down here and get the remote controlled missile launcher. Right there, the Nikita launcher. And then you're going to get back in the elevator and go to B2. So I'll explain how the missile launcher works. If you fly the missile in a straight path, which basically means you don't turn it in any direction, the missile will go faster. The second you try to turn the missile, or you move it slightly in any direction, it'll slow the missile down. So you do have a form of speed control. And you can really utilize that here because you need to have the missile zip past some of these cameras up ahead. What you basically got to do is control the missile and go around to the other side of this room and hit the control box. You know, you're going to struggle with it if it's your first time, because I did. I mean, it's kind of difficult, but once you learn the speed control aspect, you can zip past those cameras and then just fly it in this room. Once you get past the cameras, then you want to start moving the missile around a lot, because you don't want it to start going really fast, because at that point you're in these really small rooms and you don't want to lose control of it and hit something that you don't want to hit. And there are a lot of rooms in here you can explore, and you can get weapons and items and such, so that's really nice. Again, do what I didn't and explore, but the one you really want to go for is this last one here, which has a gas mask, because that'll come in handy in this room and it'll come in handy later in the game. Actually, I gotta get some water. Where did that bottle of water go? I actually decided to forego Mountain Dew this time and go with water, because Mountain Dew makes me burp a lot, and that's not great when you're on camera. Especially when you have a microphone that picks up every little thing. And I really do need to look into getting a better microphone. So we're on to the cyborg ninja fight, and with this one you're just punching and kicking them. You can't use weapons. You can use the chaff grenade to stun them. I wouldn't recommend doing that. Chaff grenades, you're going to find a lot of use for them throughout this game, and there are going to be points where you're going to need them more. Excuse me, but I go burping with water. There are points where you're going to need them more than you would with this ninja fight, and they don't really help that much with the ninja fight, to be honest. Really, you just want to stay on top of him. Don't let him get too much distance between him and yourself. Otherwise, he'll hit you like that. After a few hits, he'll jump up in the air and do try to do like a stomp, like a ground pound. When he does that, run out of the way and then run back and punch kick him. The Twin Snakes had a nice little. I don't know if I wouldn't even say it's a glitch. I think it's something they intended for the game. If you have the Nikita missile launcher equipped and you hit him with that, you do significantly more damage per hit. But with this, you just have to go in and punch kick, punch kick, punch kick. This is also an instance where the thermal goggles would come in handy if I had them. You could see exactly where he's at. You still can kind of see the outline of him. It's got that kind of predator stealth camouflage thing going on. And you can also utilize your TV speakers or your headphones, whatever you're playing this with, to get a general idea of which direction he's in. This game utilizes sound design and stereo very well. And this keeps up until you completely deplete his health. He'll go into one more phase after the fight, and I'll explain that once we get to it. Okay. Go down. I'm hoping that because I'm recording this so early in the morning that it'll free me up tonight to be able to do another video. Maybe I don't want to commit because anytime I do that, something always comes up where I just end up falling asleep and not being able to get anything done. So yeah, right there, I was a little bit too close to him. He creates this force field around him. You want to keep your distance, and at this point you can't shoot him. So you pull out your FAMAS or your SOCOM, shoot him like 3 times. He'll move to a new position, rinse and repeat. Once you get to that spot there, it's over. This is also another reason why I chose to do the GOG version. I'm not going for any major skips, of course. I'm not trying to do the boba skip or anything like that because I'm going to show you how to legitimately play through the game. I'm assuming that skip works in the PC version. I don't know. But again, I wouldn't attempt it anyway on this playthrough. But if you're trying to get through the game as quickly as possible without skipping around, I would have to assume that this version is the fastest because you can skip codec conversations with the press of one button as opposed to the PS1 version, Master Collection version, where you have to keep mashing X to skip through text. And I think at some point with the Master Collection on PC, you'll have a bunch of mods that where you can make the game look like this. Because again, if you play this on DuckStation, the PS1 version, you can get it to look like this. You can run a widescreen hack. You can run the game in 4K, all that good stuff. So I'd say it's only a matter of time before we get those options with the Master Collection version. I just wish it were something that Konami had added into the game themselves, but it is what it is. I can certainly understand it from their point, trying to preserve the game as much as possible and trying to keep the original look, but I think you always add options. So here you got to find Meryl. The way you're supposed to do it is to look at her butt. Her butt moves differently when she walks than it does with the male guards. But if you know which one's her, if you played her enough times, then you just run up to her. She has to make visual contact with you, and then she'll run into the restroom, and then you just follow behind her. See right there, that audio didn't play for that cutscene. That was one that I was mentioning earlier, and now it is working. So that's something that has to be fixed. But again, we're not watching the cutscenes here, so it doesn't matter. I would imagine there's probably like actual cutscenes where the audio doesn't work, so it would be a suboptimal experience if you were playing through the game for the story on this version of the game anyway. You want to get pick up that diazepam. You're going to need it later with the sniper rifle when you get that. We haven't got to that point yet. So coming up on the Psycho Mantis fight. Again, on this version, you don't have to controller swap. You just use the keyboard, which is pretty nice. The controller swapping thing, I feel like the significance of it's kind of lost now because you're not physically swapping controller ports. If you're playing it on the Master Collection, you press both shoulder buttons, the bumpers, not the triggers. These two right here, again, universal across all controllers. You click these two together and it'll come up with a menu, a master collection menu that allows you to swap controller ports. So that's how you want to go about that. Right there, I was just trying to get a handle for which of the keys was the fire button, and because I didn't know offhand. I never tried playing this game with a keyboard. For this part, you just have to punch and kick Meryl until she's knocked unconscious. It takes quite a few to knock her down. And the twin snakes, you can just hit her with a tranq dart or use the chokehold until she goes unconscious. So a trick you're going to see me utilize here is to look in first person, which is the Y button on Xbox, triangle on PlayStation 5, and the X button on Nintendo Switch. And this allows you to pinpoint his location. Now, if you have the thermal goggles, once again, you won't need to do that. You can see where he's at all times, even when he goes invisible. But if you don't have that, use the first-person view, because you'll see through his eyes, so you can pinpoint where in the room he's at. And you'll notice that there was a couple of edits in this fight. When I was using the keyboard, reaching across, trying to hit the fire button, I hit some other key and took myself out of the game. I minimized the window, so I had to go back in, so I just cut that part out. That's why my clicker was on the screen. That was from the recording of the gameplay. There's always going to be a snafu when it comes to me and recording these things. Right there, I'm trying to shoot Psycho Mantis. When you knock Meryl down, you can go in for a shot on Psycho Mantis, but the FAMAS, the lock-on's not, it's kind of iffy. At least in this version, I can't remember ever. And I feel like, again, on the PlayStation Master Collection version, it works a little better. Right there, I actually got a shot in on him. Apparently, with the Master Collection version, I mentioned earlier that I hope, or I wished that Konami had added resolution scaling for the first game. I kind of doubt they will at this point, unless there's a lot of demand for it. But I know a lot of people say, well, this is not the way the game is supposed to look. And it's like, yeah, fair enough. But playing the game in its original resolution on a 4K TV, a 4K 65-inch TV, it looks bad. Like, it needs to look like this on a modern TV. Putting CRT filters over it doesn't, it's so artificial. It's just, you're trying to recreate something that you can't. You know, if you want to have the purest original experience, the only way you're going to get that is to have a CRT TV and an original console with the original copy of the game. I'm not interested in trying to recreate the original experience one-to-one. The important aspects of MGS1 could still be there. I don't feel like things like dithering and the filters and stuff that they had put over the game back when it came out, things that get removed when you increase the resolution, are vital to the experience. Most of that was done out of technical constraints, and most of it doesn't hold up now when you try to play it on a modern TV. And I've got zero interest in buying like a CRT TV and just for a handful of games that I want to play. I would rather just up the resolution, but that's me. So here's a little trick you can do so you can get through that area I just went through a little bit easier. If you have a cardboard box, punch Meryl, equip it, she'll whistle for the dog, he'll come over and pee on it. This will allow you, when you go back through, you equip the box, the dogs won't attack you. It's kind of mean of the developers to have you punch Meryl in order to do that. I feel like there should be another way of doing it. Or maybe it should be just you just equip a cardboard box and they pee on it, but whatever. This cutscene you can't skip. I'm just trying to see where I set my smartphone down at. Ooh, I'll have to edit that. I forget when I'm recording, I've got these headphones on and my head is just a little bit bigger because of it.
So, what do you think? Pretty good, huh?
How did you know where the mines were?
It sounds weird, but when Mantis dove into my mind, I was able to see where the mines were placed.
I had in my earlier videos, I was really bad about bumping the table or setting drinks down on the table and causing the microphone to pick up on all these thumps and booms, and in retrospect I really should have edited those out, but I wasn't that proficient with editing, and I was still experimenting with different editing software, and a lot of times I would just forget too that I made those sounds, and I did it so often that it's like, well, where did I do it? I try to go back and watch through my videos before I upload them, but I don't always catch these things. That one I should remember, and hopefully it's the only time I do it. It's usually pretty easy to find those thumps and booms because they show up on the like a sound wave when you're editing the video. For anyone that's curious, I use HIT film to record this or to do my video editing, and it works pretty well. Like, I got the basic version. I always export in 4K, even though none of my recordings are in 4K. This camera records in 1440p, but none of my content's in 4K. So when the video exports and I upload it to YouTube, it's always just in 1080p 60 frames per second, which I think is good enough. I imagine if the content were in 4K, it would take forever to upload anyway. Especially on my connection. I've really got to get back to some shorter games after I finish up with Metal Gear Solid, because I'm just going to do MGS2, and maybe somewhere down the road I'll come back and do the MSX titles. But I'm going to get back into some other stuff. I am recording the Jurassic Park playthrough. I've never played through that game before, so I'm recording it again like I'm doing this one, where I'm recording the gameplay separate, and I'm save stating the crap out of it just to get through it. It's very difficult if you're not a pro at it. So what I'm doing here is going back to the first building of the game, because you have to go back to get the sniper rifle. You're going to go to the B2 floor of the tank hangar building. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I plan to after Jurassic Park, because I have two Jurassic Park games I've got to do. I got to do the Genesis game and then the Super Nintendo game, which the Super Nintendo game should go a lot more smoothly. Like, it's not a platformer, which I'm not the greatest at anyway. And I've played through the Super Nintendo Jurassic Park game on actual hardware before with no saving, so it's just a matter of remembering everything. There are lasers in this room, so if you don't want to get spotted, equip those thermal goggles if you got them, and sneak around the lasers. Even if you have the thermal goggles, sometimes it's hard to get past that laser just because Snake's leg will bump into it sometimes. But if you get spotted, you can just go back into the room with President Baker and disable the alert. That's the thing about MGS1. Another little pro tip, I guess. Whenever you go into a new room, and by a new room, I mean going into a room where it loads, like there'll be a black screen and then you're in the next room, doing that disables alerts. And then after that, you're going to walk all the way back to where Meryl was and fight Sniper Wolf. This was designed this way to sort of pad out the game, add more playtime. It was greatly reduced in the Twin Snakes. You can just go into the B1 floor of the building where you fight Sniper Wolf and pick up a PSG-1T. And if you watch my Twin Snakes playthrough, you'll have seen that. They also reduce some backtracking later in the game, which I'll mention when we get there. Noticing the frame rate's kind of chuggy there. I did not notice that when I recorded this originally. I don't know why I'm doing this here. There's no reason to. I'm not walking over any grates. I get a little bit more confident when it comes to dealing with guards as this playthrough goes on. Right there, instead of choking the guard out, I just do a quick toss because the guards, they'll get up and go, huh? And then go on about their business. I think this is where I throw this guard over the edge, maybe. Have I already done that? No, I don't think I've done that yet. Right there, I should have just ran for him and just quick tossed him, but I'm being a little extra cautious. But watch this. Yeah. I love that. I totally forgot you could do that. You can throw guards over railings and kill them, which is pretty funny. I had such a hard time getting through this room when I was a kid playing this game for the first time. And yeah, I played the game when I was a kid. I'm glad I did too. It had a major impact on me in a good way. And the graphics were so primitive. Like, people say you get desensitized to these things. That didn't happen for me. I can see how that might be a thing now with kids playing, Metal Gear Solid 5 or something, but this one's so primitive in the way it looks. So when you're doing this fight, you want to do this is why you want to have that diazepam. You use it to stop Snake's hands from shaking, which is not required, I would say, but it helps out a lot. And I'm wasting ammo here because I'm missing so many of my shots. But if she hits you, what you want to do is quickly unequip your gun, again using the tactical reload thing, and reposition yourself, because when you get shot while you're aiming the sniper rifle, you'll get knocked in one direction or the other, like really far in one direction, and it takes so long for you to drag your sniper scope back to the center of the screen where it needs to be. And quickly unequipping the gun and then equipping it again is a lot faster than, again, trying to reposition yourself with the sniper rifle equipped. Another little trick that I totally forgot about throughout most of this playthrough. Always have a weapon equipped, whether it's a grenade or the SOCOM, whatever. Because Snake will walk slightly faster, or run slightly faster than uh, he does when he's unarmed. And if you're trying to get through the game somewhat quickly, that can help out a lot. So, if you're playing this through for the first time, try to resist the torture if you can, so you get the canonical ending of the game. Because this is a splinter point, if you will, depending on what you do here. If you resist the torture, you'll get an ending, and if you submit to the torture, which I did, you'll get a completely different ending. And I won't say what that is. They're kind of alluding to it now, but yeah, just I don't want to spoil anything. I know it's crazy to talk about spoilers for a game that came out in 1998, but nah, there you go. Here I'm experimenting or playing around with the first-person view mode that this version of the game has. To do it on the PC version, you double tap the first-person view button. And I was under the impression that every version of Integral, which is what this is, had that feature. But I tried doing it in the Master Collection, and it didn't work. So either it's a different button combination, or it just doesn't work in the PS1 version of Integral. I don't know. So there's a few ways of getting out of this cell. The first and easiest one is coming up. The second easiest is he's going to go to the restroom in a few minutes, this guard, and you can hide under the bed and wait for he'll come back and think you're not in there. He'll open the door and come in and look around. When he comes in, you want to crawl out from under the bed, knock him out, and then leave the prison cell. But the easiest method is pretty similar, but it gets you a lot closer to the door. So when he goes away, you're going to get a visit from someone. Something about the stealth camouflage causes the frame rate to chug in this version of the game. I don't know what that's all about. I don't remember that happening the first time I played through this version of the game. It might have been because of some of these mods I've got going on. So he's going to give you the ketchup. Equip it, hit the circle button, and it's going to make it look as if Snake is bleeding and has died. So then when the guard comes back, well, you'll see what happens. So you can go a few ways about knocking him out. You can punch, kick, you can choke him, or you can do the quick toss. I recommend doing the quick toss because the closer you stay to him and the longer you stay next to him, you have a chance of catching a cold. But if you just do a quick toss and then quickly run into the torture room, you should be fine. There is cold medicine you can get that'll get rid of the cold, but it's a thing you don't want to have to deal with because it can give away your position, because Snake will sneeze, and if you're close to a guard, they'll come and investigate. Toss you a chaff grenade, go through the door, and then essentially you're just going back to where you fought Sniper Wolf, so you can progress forward. Yet I'm noticing a lot of frame rate chugging that I didn't see when I was playing through the game. I don't know if it's the game was doing it at that point or it's just the recording. And maybe when I go through and edit all this together and upload it, maybe that won't even be there. I don't know. Here I'm going from memory to try and remember where the claymore are hidden. Because you do want to stock up on them. I think I mentioned this earlier. There is a boss fight later in the game where these will come in handy. and by the time I get there, I have almost pretty much a full stock, I think. That camera doesn't have much of a blind spot, does it? I mean, it can't really hit you if you're underneath it, but still, I feel like I was running right underneath his blind spot, and it still picked up on me. I gotta say, some of the textures in this game look really nice. I don't know that they upgraded the actual graphics all that much for this version of the game, but like, a lot of it looks really good for a PS1 era title. I guess maybe they did upgrade some of the textures, I don't know. I should have mentioned this earlier when I came through this room for the first time, but if you're playing the game with the original guard layout, it's a lot easier to go up the left staircase as opposed to the one that I went on the right side, because there's a lot less resistance going that way. But on the integral alternate layout, the right side is a lot easier, has a lot less resistance, I guess you would say. So after you get out of the torture room, after you get out of prison, you will have acquired a handkerchief, and you can equip this and it'll allow you to get past the dogs, so you don't have to use the cardboard box trick anymore, which was nice, because you can't use the cardboard box when you're crawling. Not that it really matters, but it's still nice to have that little extra bit of insurance. And I don't think I knew about that. Like, the first time I played this as a kid, I just run through and shoot the wolf dogs. I keep forgetting which side of the chair I set my water down on. I avoid sitting it down on the desk because of the microphone picking up the sound. I need to set it to the left side because that's the hand I use to grab drinks with, but I think after I keep losing my train of thought in regards to what I want to do going forward on the channel. Still got tutorial stuff that I want to do. I have one in mind that I might try to do maybe tonight. Maybe we'll see. But we're going to get back to some James Bond games. Really been feeling James Bond here recently, and maybe I'll do some of the PS2 era 007 games. I think that would be a lot of fun. So on this is not a boss fight per se, it's a battle, but you're just going to run up the stairs of this tower, which there's quite a few flights of stairs to go up. The easiest and best way to get through this, and this is why you really want to stop and pick up as much ammunition as you can, you really want to stop and explore. Stun grenades make this a lot easier. It's the best way to go through it. You really have to get the timing down as to when you need to throw the stun grenade, but if you time it right, you can just kind of keep tossing them periodically and not have to deal with the guards, because you can just run through and shoot them if you want to, but that could be kind of time consuming and potentially cause you to take more damage. Another little pro tip I'll throw out here is keeping the rations equipped whenever you're in a boss fight is the best course of action, because your health will automatically replenish whenever your life reaches 0. I used to have the timing really good down really well when it came to throwing the stun grenades, but again, so much time in between not playing the game that I've forgotten all of that. You also will have noticed right when I came into the room and the alert went off, I picked up a couple of items in that first room. One of those is a rope. You want to pick that rope up. I don't know if they give you another chance to pick it up once you reach the top of the tower. I'm assuming they do, but if not, you might have to walk all the way down the tower again. I just threw that guy over the edge. I love that so much. I wasn't even trying to do it. It's just one of those random things. So once you get to the end here, you're going to go out this door. There's going to be a cutscene. You're going to walk over to the satellite dish. Have that rope equipped. So on this part, you're going to use the rope to climb down the tower. And I think, I'm trying to go from memory here, I believe that the rappel button is the crawl button. So whatever the crawl button is on your particular controller, that's the one you're going to use to jump down. And I swear, the last time when I played through this on the Master Collection, I got down this tower without taking a single hit. And this time around, I took a hit from everything. Like, I did the worst possible, again, the worst possible outcome. So, yeah, hopefully you'll do better than I did at this part. But if you got plenty of rations, it really doesn't matter. It only really matters if you're going for the big boss rank, which I'm going to have to practice at and practice at doing, because there's an achievement for it in the Master Collection, and I want to get all those achievements. I did it for the HD Collection. I want to do it again for the Master Collection. So there's 3 guards waiting across. You want to take them out before you run across, because otherwise it's almost like an invisible wall. They'll keep shooting you, and you won't be able to get any further. There's a certain point where you just can't get any further until you kill all these guys. You can also use the Nikita missile launcher, and that's actually a better way of going about it, because you really don't want to waste your sniper rifle ammo, but I wasn't thinking here, and I think I was still sort of in a Twin Snakes mindset, because in the Twin Snakes you can whip out the PSG-1T and take them out, take out each guard with 1 hit, at least if you go for a headshot. But you can't really do that here. When you come in this room, pick up that Stinger missile launcher. Once you get in this room, you're going to walk to the right and go all the way down all of these flights of stairs till you get to a certain point. And once you get to that point, you'll know you won't be able to go any further, and then you got to walk back up. This is something that they shortened quite a bit with the Twin Snakes as well, because you don't have to walk down as many flights of stairs to get to this point. It's literally like the last flight of stairs, and the Snake just can't jump down them. In the Twin Snakes, they changed it so that it's like further up, so it makes sense why you wouldn't be able to jump down. So once you get back up to the top, and you have to do that to trigger the next cutscene. Like if you walk over to the elevator in this room, nothing will happen. So then you have to walk downstairs and then come back. So these cutscenes are going to play out, and then you're going to go to the right. And this is where you're going to need some chaff grenades, because every 3 flights of stairs you go up, there's going to be a set of cameras, and it goes up. So there's 1 camera, then there's 2, then 3, then 4. And as you can tell, I don't have enough chaff grenades to be able to deal with all of them. So on the 4th set, I end up taking a little bit of damage. In the Twin Snakes, you can just shoot the cameras with a pistol, or blow them up with a Stinger missile launcher. You can use the Stinger missile launcher here when you're coming back down, but when you're walking up the stairs, Snake apparently can't aim that high. And so you can't really use that trick. So I try to do it here, but that's as high as Snake can aim in this room at least. When he's outside, I'm pretty sure he can aim a lot higher than that, but I guess that they anticipated that and made it so that you couldn't just blow the cameras up. But again, you're going to come back down these stairs after this next boss fight, and as long as you got some Stinger missiles on you, you can blow those cameras up. Or again, just use chaff grenades if you've picked up a fair amount of them. More than I did. You get some at the top, you get some right there. I just picked up 3, which I believe I use when I come back down. So we're about to come up on another boss fight. Right, so this is a fight with a Hind D. You're going to be using your Stinger missile launcher here. Basically what you want to do is fire at him and then get behind cover. You can see him on your radar. He's that purple dot. I guess it's purple in the Master Collection version. That might be just a PC thing, I don't know. But take a shot, wait for him to fire. Once he stops firing, then you can pop back out and shoot him again. This fight actually went pretty smoothly for the most part. I don't remember if I even take any damage on this one or not. And you can also use, if you're playing this on a TV that has stereo speakers, which I'm pretty sure all TVs do these days, you can tell which side of the screen he's on using the speakers, because you can hear him either on the left speaker or the right speaker. Or if you're using headphones like me, it's another way, a much better way, honestly, of being able to tell where he's at. That's really not that useful when you're playing the game on easy or normal, because you can just see him on the radar. But if you're playing on extreme mode, where you can't use the radar, being able to hear where he's at is fairly useful. Right here, if you're lucky, or you time your shot just right, you can shoot him while this missile's flying towards this area. And when he fires that missile, you want to stay on this side of the screen, or this area of the screen, or this, I want to call it a room, it's not a room. Stay on this side of the roof so you don't get hit by that missile. So at this point, he's going to start ducking under your line of sight, and you just want to track him. Just follow that blip on your radar, wait for him to pop back up, and then fire on him. Once you do that, again, get behind cover, wait for him to shoot his shots, and then pop back out again. If you're fast enough, you can get 2 shots in him before he ducks back down. So again, shoot, pop back out. That's rinse and repeat for the rest of the fight. Once you've depleted his health, he'll still try to shoot you one more time, and then once he's done, you want to run up this small little flight of stairs over here where he fired that missile at the first time. And I don't know if you necessarily have to flatten yourself against this wall, but I do it anyway. I love how that missile was just floating on that helicopter, wasn't even attached to anything. But if you're over on this side, you won't get hit by that missile. And then you're going back down to that elevator. I mentioned a few minutes ago that I would like to go back and do the PS2 007 games, or the 6th generation 007 games. I'll be playing them via Dolphin emulator. I recently discovered my laptop is actually pretty capable when it comes to PS3 emulation. So I've been replaying some of the Craig era 007 games, which is pretty cool. Most of them had PC ports, but GoldenEye Reloaded and... Actually, I think it's just GoldenEye Reloaded didn't have a PC port. But trying to find the PC versions of those games is borderline impossible. Or trying to find ones that are cracked to where you can play them. So I just like, well, I'll try emulating them, and it works surprisingly well. So maybe at some point way down the road, I'll do playthroughs of those as well. I really like the Craig era 007 games, if I'm being honest. I know a lot of people don't feel like they're just kind of Call of Duty clones, but all of them except for Bloodstone. Bloodstone's a third-person game, but yeah, I like those games. They're a lot of fun. So a tip I forgot to mention early on at the first elevator is tapping the elevator button multiple times will make it come faster. It doesn't really work so much with this one. It's supposed to come up very slowly for a reason. So in this fight, the guards are wearing stealth camouflage. You can equip the thermal goggles if you have them to be able to see them more clearly. They're still pretty visible even without it. But you just want to whip out your FAMAS and just mow them down. You have to go through several cycles with them before they die. Something else I like about the Twin Snakes is if you're playing with first person mode like most people would, you can just pop each one of them in the head with the trank and be done with it and get this fight over a lot faster. I suppose another thing you could do is pop stun grenades to make it so that they don't hit you as much, but it also makes it so that you can't hit them, because if a guard's on the ground you got no way of shooting them. Again, go and explore, pick up ammunition. There's going to be some rooms here fairly soon where you'll be able to pick up a lot of ammo for a lot of different guns and grenades and stuff like that. I would say the FAMAS isn't particularly useful from that point on. Well, actually, there is one more. There's one more fight where you can use where it's useful, but for some reason there's some graphical issues there on Snake's face, like you see like seams in his nose or something. I don't know. It's kind of weird. One thing I keep forgetting with the PC version is you don't have to call mailing to save the game. You can just press start and do it. But I'm so used to calling her that I just do it anyway. So this is pretty much the same as the first Sniper Wolf fight. There's just more ground for her to run to, more places for her to hide. But as long as you keep a sight on her, you should be fine. I'm assuming she always starts in the same spot. She'll always be to the right-hand side of the map. Here, I decided to stupidly go and look for diazepam because I ran out, and there isn't any. So if you don't have any, if you didn't pick up a lot of it beforehand, you're not screwed. You can still do the fight as I do. From what I remember, and you'll see me do this here, I equip the cigarettes because that's supposed to stop snake's hands from stop snake's hands from shaking as much as they would without them. They still shake. So I just remember that being in one of the codec conversations. I don't know if it actually works. I've never looked that up to verify that, or if it's just something they put in a codec conversation but didn't actually make it to a gameplay mechanic. But regardless, I equipped them, and I managed to finish out the fight. It's not too bad either. And you can't, even though you can see her arms right there, you can't shoot her. You can't shoot her until she pops out to take a shot at you. Right there, I'm just wasting ammo. A lot of times when she runs past that hill, she'll double back. So if you don't see her run out the other side, start moving your sights back to the right, because she's trying to get a fast one, pull a fast one on you. Also, I don't think that this version, or that the Metal Gear Solid 1 in general, has location damage like the Twin Snakes does. So even if you shoot her in the head, I don't know if that does any more damage than it would if you just shoot her in the torso. So there are a lot of rooms in this area that you can pick up ammo from, and I highly recommend that you do. There are security cameras in some of these rooms, and one of the rooms, and I'll point it out when we get to that room, there are claymore mines. As you can see, I'm out of chaff grenades at this point, so I just have to end up soaking up shots from some of these gun cameras. The concept of security cameras completely lost their sting, their luster after from MGS2 onwards, because you can just go into first-person mode and shoot them out. But in MGS1, they are very much a threat. Again, health isn't a massive concern unless you're playing the game on like hard or extreme. As long as you go out of your way, again, to pick things up out of, go explore, pick things up out of rooms, you should always have enough rations. This is the room that has the claymore in it. Again, whip out that mine detector or those thermal goggles if you got them, and you'll be able to see the claymore and be able to pick them up a little bit more quickly than I am here. And this is a good chance to stock up on those as well. You do get the level 7 card key before long, but I think I came back to that room once before in a playthrough, but I don't think, whatever was in that room, I don't think it was worth going out of your way for. I think it might have been the digital camera, I can't remember. This is where the game would normally ask you to swap discs if you're playing it on the Master Collection or the original version. In the Master Collection, they have this really nice animation that plays that swaps the disc, which is pretty cool. On the PC version, there's no disc swapping. The card layout here is a bit different than what I'm normally used to. And there's also a camera up there, which again is part of the alternate integral card layout thing. So if you are playing with the alternate layout, you just kind of follow what I'm doing. If you don't, you'll have a much easier time of getting through this area. So what you want to do is you're gonna shimmy along this ledge. Once you get to the end, you're going to crouch down, because if that thing hits Snake, you'll fall off and die. So you want to wait, crouch down and wait for it to go over you. I wouldn't stand up here because you can't really tell if it's right above him or if it's slightly to the right of him or left of him. But once it gets past you, you're all good. I would say this is the last area where the FAMAS is useful. Here I tried to toss him over the edge. I think that's, if I remember right, that's what speedrunners used to do, or maybe still do. It's a quicker way of getting through the fight if you can run around and just like toss them over the railing, as opposed to having to shoot them. But you can mow them down pretty quickly. This is again where running and shooting really comes in handy. Because even though the lock-on's kind of iffy in this version, as long as you can get right on top of them and not really have to worry about it so much. There's a camera around this corner here, and I think I forget about it. It's a gun camera. It almost got me. And there's Claymore mines up ahead. If you go over all the way to the right, there's a ration over there, and I didn't crawl soon enough. I didn't go into the crawl position soon enough. There's actually a fair few Claymore around this area. It's again the game is giving you another chance to pick them up, though. It's like it's telling you that these might come in handy pretty soon, which they do. The area on that terminal where you have to hit the circle button or the action button, whatever it is, punch button, is so specific. Like you have to be on the very right side of that where it looks like there's a keypad. Otherwise you're just going to be sitting there punching air. You can get a nice look at Snake's model if you flatten yourself against this terminal. That character models become very iconic. They had an MGS4, they had it to where you could use the Octo face camo to make it look like MGS1 Snake, and then in MGS5 you can play straight up as MGS1 Snake, which is pretty cool. I played around with that quite a bit. So we're on to the Raven fight here, and there's a couple of ways of taking them out, and I kind of do a combination of the main two ways, and that is to set Claymore and then use the remote control missile launcher. Now, using Claymore without a mine detector or without thermal goggles is risky in this fight because you might end up forgetting where you set the mines at and then stepping into your own trap. So I don't go too crazy with the Claymore. I set them up in a couple of spots, and then I use the missile launcher to do most of the damage. Something I failed to mention earlier when it came to the key to the missile launcher is you can aim it, and when you're controlling the missile, you can do it in first-person mode if you hold down the first-person view button. Here I just do it in third person because I don't really. It doesn't help me too much to aim in first person. Actually, gives me less of a line of sight. It's useful to use it in first person. Use it in first person when you're trying to hit that control panel for the electrified floors. But with this fight, I actually found it more helpful to be able to see everything around me. His path, the path that he takes, is different, and I think it just depends on where you're standing. So if you're trying to follow my what's the word I'm looking for? If you're trying to follow my pattern, like where I'm walking, where I'm stopping, if you're following that to a T, it may not work out for you. You just want to employ the strategies that I'm using when it comes to the missile launcher and the claymore. That fight actually went pretty smoothly by my standards. I actually struggled with that one a little bit with the Twin Snakes. It turns out that's one of the fights that is easier in the Twin Snakes that I really didn't know about, to be honest. You can, in the Twin Snakes, because you have first person view mode, you can peek around corners while you're aiming. And you can utilize that tactic quite a bit for Raven and be able to shoot him without him being able to hit you back. And that's something I didn't know about, so the Raven fight is significantly easier in the Twin Snakes, if you know about that. If you go around collecting all this ammo and stuff, you want to use a claymore or a chaff grenade, which I didn't use here. I used it there, I guess. Right after I took a whole bunch of shots. I don't know what happened to me there. I totally forgot which button I was supposed to press, I guess. Or I got distracted by something else. So in this portion, you're going to be going up a few different ladders. This area, I guess, is just too big for them to render all at once on the PlayStation. So it's broken up into these sections, which again is an improvement in the Twin Snakes because it is all just one room. This is again where this is an area where that chaff grenade or grenade trick, I guess you can just use any weapon for it, or it might just be grenades, I can't remember. But using that trick can get you through here without alerting the guards, because your footsteps will make noise on these grates. This is a mandatory alert. There's not much you can do about it. I went into first person view mode here just to see if there was anyone coming ahead of me. Because I think in the Master Collection version when I played this, I think there was guards coming from the other direction, which ended up kind of screwing me over. This is where the game gets really backtracking. So the first thing you're going to do is go all the way to the bottom where you started, and you've got to recover the PAL key. Now, if you're fast enough, you can do this. You can go into the water and pick it up right away. I've never been able to do that. By the time I get down here, it's already been ate by a mouse. In which case you have to blow the mouse up to recover the key. And he'll spawn either right there, or he'll spawn over here. And right, so he spawns over here, shoot him with a Stinger missile launcher, and then you can pick the card key up. Use the old quick unequip, equip unequip trick. Get past this guard. If you do it right, you won't even have to interact with him at all. And his layout's the same regardless of which version of the game you're playing. So you want to equip the card, the PAL card, and just walk up to the computer, throw another chaff grenade. You do not want to get spotted by those cameras because you'll be trapped in the room and then it'll disperse poisonous gas. Now here I mistimed things. If I had just ran for it, he wouldn't have spotted me, which I do later because you have to do this like 2 more times. Or 1 more time after this, not 2 more times. If you're playing the Twin Snakes, of course, what you're supposed to do here is you're supposed to go back to the area where you fought Raven and stay in that room for a few minutes until you freeze the card key. In the Twin Snakes, they put a steam pipe and a CO2 pipe in the Rex tank hangar here, and you can just freeze and warm the key that way, which is a massive improvement. One of the many reasons why I prefer playing the Twin Snakes for the most part. This game still, the original still has a lot of charm to it. I very much prefer the soundtrack in this game over the Twin Snakes. And playing it does bring back a lot of good memories, but it's just so many things are so much smoother in the Twin Snakes. And I like that it has a visual consistency with the other mainline games. So what you want to do is equip the PAL card and then just run around this room for a few minutes. And there's some ammo and some rations and stuff you can pick up in here, so take advantage of that for sure. It takes a fair bit of time for that key to freeze. What you want to do is just bring up your item window and just look at it not too often, so you're just going to kind of end up taking more time if you look too often, but once it turns blue, you're good. You gotta go back up all the ladders again. Like I said, it's very, very backtracky. This part can be a bit tedious. That looks so funny when you look at it, the way he's walking when you're equipping and unequipping a weapon. It's like he's skipping a step. This is back before they introduced the concept of being able to stalk, like walk slowly, which they did in MGS2 and 3, which allows you to walk on noisy surfaces without making a noise. For some reason there, that it didn't activate right away. I've only ever had that problem with this version, so I'm guessing it's just another PC issue. Right there I kind of paused for a second. It's like, oh, he's looking right at me, but as you can see, I got right past him. You don't have your radar here, so you can't really see which direction the guard's looking at or how close you are to their field of vision. but it's not a huge deal. You're only having to deal with that one guard when you're coming in and out of the room, so it is what it is. This is an improvement they made with the twin snakes, or MGS2 3 twin snakes, is that you don't have to have the card key equipped to get through doors. In this version, or in the MGS1, I've seen this version. MGS1, you have to equip the card key to go through a door. So this threw me off, because this is again another change with the integral version with the alternate guard layout. You have 4 guards in here instead of 2, and they're all just kind of standing around this one area. And I'm sure there's a way to get past them without killing them, but I just decided to shoot them. And then what you're doing now, after you freeze the key and take it back to the computer, you're going to go back to the furnace, and you're going to heat the key. So it's the same concept, just kind of hang around in that room until the key turns red, and then you can go back and all is well. I equipped the chaff grenade just so Snake would run faster. Again, that's something that occurred to me as I got into this portion of the playthrough. It's like, keep a weapon equipped, you idiot. It makes you walk faster. You just have to find ways of amusing yourself when you're going on these long elevator rides, because there's really nothing else to do. The elevators in this game, from what I remember, are a way of disguising the load screens, because there aren't really load screens in this game. Like, the screen will turn black when you transition from one area to another, and the game's obviously loading there. But that's another thing about the PC version. The load times in this are insanely fast. And that's the thing, they're not really that fast in the Master Collection version, because it's emulation, I guess. But this is a native PC port, so the load times, if you got this installed on an SSD, super quick. It's as fast as MGS2 and 3 are on the Master Collection on PC. That's the things you get excited about when you've bought every version of Metal Gear Solid. It's the little things like faster load times that really get you going. So you don't have to go through this room necessarily, but if you do, you can go in and you can get body armor. Body armor's fairly useful for the second to last boss fight, I guess you would say. I think I use it, maybe. I can't remember if I equip it or not. And then you're just going to wait it out, wait for the key to turn red. It'll turn back to normal first, and then it'll turn red. So again, you're just going to want to check the item menu every so often. And then it's all the way back to the Rex hangar for the last time. Here I get careless and just try to run past the camera, but if you do that, you're going to take a hit. Best just to throw a chaff grenade and not deal with it. You can shoot these ravens. That's a thing you can do. I don't think it'll happen at this point, but if you do it on your first ride down, right before you fight Raven, the Colonel or Naomi will call and scold you about it. Snake will just like automatically lock onto them. I'm there, go bumping the microphone again. That's twice. That's two. I'm gonna have to cut out. Now, when you're coming back through this room, you don't want to spend too much time here. Otherwise, otherwise the key will thaw, or not thaw. The key will freeze. It'll go back to normal and then freeze, which is, you run that risk much more playing the alternate guard layout because you have to spend time to take out the guards. But it still takes a fair amount of time for that to happen, so you can. It's best to save it before you go into that room, to be honest. That way, if you screw up or you spend too much time in there, then you can just load the save up and try it again. And then it's back up the stair, or back up the ladder. I keep saying stairs because in the Twin Snakes it's staircases. It's not ladders. So we're very much in the home stretch of it now. We have, I guess you would say, 3 more boss fights to go. You don't have to start doing this little trick this early. You can wait till you get to about that point right there and then start using it. You have to be pretty close for the guard to hear you anyway. Again, I'm just finding something to amuse myself with here when I was playing the game anyway. Equip that card key, go to the 3rd computer. So once you do this, the room will be filled with gas. If you picked up that gas mask, equip it, call Otacon, and then go and wait by the door for about a minute or so. Otacon will open the door and then you can get out. I don't know what I was doing there. Alright, so now we have the Rex fight. So if you have chaff grenades, you can use those here to disrupt his sensors, I guess, his scanners, and make it so that it takes him a few minutes to be able to hit you. I've never found that to be particularly useful myself. Basically, you want to shoot him and then run towards him when he fires these missiles so that you don't get hit with those. Then when he's firing his machine guns, kind of run back and just kind of rinse and repeat. And see, if you get too far away from him, then you might get hit by a missile even when you're running forward. And sometimes the lock on for the stinger doesn't work, or it takes a few seconds. And he also, if you're too close, he can also hit you with his laser, as you saw there. Then you have the second phase of the fight where liquid is exposed, so you're going to aim for the cockpit this time. I had a little bit of a time trying to hit liquid on this one. And again, this is just for me being out of practice, but I missed him several times. It's kind of embarrassing. But he's more or less doing the same kinds of attacks. He'll also try to crush you with the Rex's foot if you get too close. So the problem is that when he's sitting back and you lock onto him, after you fire that missile, he'll move his head and make it so where it's hard to hit him. It usually causes the missile to miss. And that's the Rex fight. We have some cutscenes. And then we're going to have the final boss fight with Liquid, which is very similar. It's similar in a sense to the Gray Fox fight, where you're just using your melee attacks, punch and kick. It's a little bit tricky because he counters a bit more than Gray Fox, so you have to be kind of wary of that and kind of develop a strategy around it. I'll kind of explain it as I'm going through here. I don't really utilize that strategy very well. And for the first few rounds, you can just go up and punch and kick him, and it's fine. And then he'll start to get to where he'll dodge. So what you really want to do at that point is go in, throw a single punch, then move away from him, then go back in and punch and kick him like that. And if you don't finish out a punch kick combo, if you punch him once, he'll then start punching you back, and he does way more damage per hit than you do. The only other thing that's worth mentioning here is that when you deliver the final blow, you have to knock him over the edge. You have to knock him off of Rex's head. And there's a few spots on Rex where you can do that. You can see one of those right here in this fight when I do it. But there's, again, a few positions where you can actually pull that off. But you just kind of have to play it a few times to figure that out. He'll also try to tackle you later in the fight, and that does a lot of damage. So at this point, if where his health is now is where right there, where his health is where it needs to be when you deliver the final blow. If you knock his health down, it'll just keep regenerating until you knock him over the edge. So look at his health bar right now. Right, so I punch him here, I fail to knock him over the edge, and his health refills. And it'll keep doing that until you knock him over the edge. And the timer's really getting close here. I really cut this one close, but I got him. So on that right hand side, if you position it just right, you can kick him over the edge. Now we got one more bit here before the game is over. You're going to get on a motorcycle, get on a Jeep, and you're going to man a turret gun. And you just have to shoot everyone in your way. It's very straightforward. Something I do here is I get this guy in a chokehold. If you hold a guard in a chokehold, the other guards will shoot, but they'll shoot him and not you. So once he says jump in, just run over to the Jeep. It might take a second or two before Snake gets in. You don't have to press any buttons. You should just do it automatically. And then you've got this segment here where you have to get past a couple of guard posts. You're just shooting the guards. Once again, you can actually do this in first person regardless of which version you're playing. You just have to hold the triangle button, or triangle. You have to hold the first person button, whether that's the triangle button or the X button or the Y button. Again, depends on your controller, what system you're playing the game on. So there's 2 guard posts. And the Twin Snakes, they had explosive barrels that you could shoot that would take out all the guards. And it also, I think it knocks them unconscious, I think is the thing. So that if you're doing a non-kill playthrough, you don't actually kill the guards. But here you just have to straight up shoot them. So after you go through that second guard post, then you have Liquid once again. And you're just going to shoot at him. Basically what you're trying to do here is shoot him at every opportunity so he can't shoot you back. And that's really all there is to it. Now, one of the things I didn't know until this playthrough is that the credits in this game are actually skippable, unlike the PS1 version or the Master Collection version. So once we get through with this, it'll go right to the, I basically get to the clear screen pretty quickly so you can see my rank. So I will take this opportunity now to thank everyone for watching. Whether you watched for a few minutes or you skipped to the end or you watched the whole thing, whatever the case may be, thank you for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate everyone that's watched my video since I came back. I'm very happy with my MGS3 playthrough that I did. I'm very happy with how many views I got on my Master Collection Steam Deck video. It was very nice to come back to that, to still have people that are interested in my content, and there'll still be more of those tutorials to come whenever I come across something. Like I said, I got one up here that I'm going to probably do at some point. So again, very much appreciate any and all support that I get. If you're new to this channel and you like this playthrough, please consider hitting the like button. Please consider subscribing. It would very much help out the channel. And the more support I have, the more incentive I have to continue doing this and to do it more frequently. But I'll continue to do it in some capacity, in some form, regardless. So again, I would appreciate any and all support, and leave comments. Let me know what you thought of my playthrough. And yeah, that's it. So we'll get to the clear screen here, and then I will sign out. It's a bad one. It's a bad rank, but I was pretty happy with the playtime. Like, it didn't take me too long. There it is. All right, folks, that's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.